Welcome to MediByte. Today we're diving into a really tough but incredibly important topic. Why is it so hard to leave relationships that hurt us? We're going to explore how early abuse and neglect can set a trap and look at the real, lifelong costs it has on our bodies and our minds. Now, this entire explainer is grounded in the absolutely landmark work of Dr. Bessel Kolk from his book, The Body Keeps the Score. And I mean it when I say this book was a game changer. It didn't just add to what we knew about trauma, it completely revolutionized the whole conversation.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of a heartbreaking paradox. See, for a child, your survival is completely tied to attachment. It just is. But what on earth do you do when the one person who's supposed to be your source of safety is also the source of your deepest fear?
Well, you're caught in an impossible bind. Dr. Kolk shows us that terror doesn't actually push a child away. And this is the part that's so hard to grasp. It actually makes them need that attachment more. They cling even tighter to their abuser because, really, what other choice do they have? They are well and truly trapped.
Think about what this does to a person's system. It forces their mind and their body into this state of constant, high alert. The alarm bells are just always ringing. And to survive that, you have to learn to suppress your own feelings, to deny your own reality. And this creates this profound split inside between what you experience and what you have to pretend you don't experience.
So how does this internal war actually show up physically? Because this is the key. Trauma isn't just a bad memory you can file away. No, it's a physical imprint. It literally recalibrates your entire nervous system, and it creates what you could call a faulty internal alarm.
And the technical term for this state is dysregulation. But what that really means is your body is stuck defending itself against a threat that's in the past. You're permanently in survival mode. And when you're living like that, it becomes incredibly hard to manage your emotions, your impulses, even just basic physical feelings.
And if we look at what's going on in the brain, it makes so much sense. Trauma can put the emotional part of the brain, the limbic system, and especially a little part called the amygdala, on overdrive. It basically becomes hyperactive. So it starts seeing threats everywhere, misinterpreting normal everyday things as danger, and it keeps your body flooded with stress hormones long after the real danger is gone.
While living in that constant state of alarm leads to this deep disconnection. A lot of survivors experience something called alexithymia, which literally translates to not having words for feelings. And it makes sense, right? If your body's signals are constantly screaming danger, you learn to tune them out, to go numb just to get through the day. And eventually, you can't even tell what you're feeling at all.
So what does this all look like when that child grows up and has to navigate the adult world? Well, the research is pretty clear. These wounds from childhood essentially create two totally different maps of the world, leading to two vastly different kinds of lives.
And the difference is it's stark. On one hand, you've got a secure map of the world, a map where you generally trust things will be okay, and you can imagine ways to get out of bad situations. But on the other hand, you have a traumatized map, where the whole world feels like a minefield of triggers. You can only imagine the worst-case scenario, because that's what life has taught you to expect.
The real-world cost of this map is just staggering. The famous Adverse Childhood Experiences study, the ACE study, found that for people with high ACE scores, meaning they've gone through multiple forms of abuse or neglect, their likelihood of a suicide attempt goes up by 5,000%. This is a massive, hidden public health crisis.
And this leads us to maybe one of the biggest, most painful hurdles in healing, the challenge of trust. I mean, if your very first relationships taught you that love and pain are the same thing, how are you ever supposed to build a healthy connection? It almost always starts with this deeply ingrained pattern of self-blame.
Just listen to this powerful quote from one of Dr. Kolk's patients. She's explaining that her entire childhood trained her to believe she was the problem. So when her therapist tried to use logic to reassure her that it wasn't her fault, it didn't land. It just made her feel even more alone, like nobody could ever possibly understand.
And because of that deep self-blame, shame just becomes this constant companion. It's always there. Hiding the truth from other people and, honestly, even from yourself becomes a full-time job. It makes real connection feel terrifying, because if you let someone in, you risk them seeing the truth you believe about yourself, that you're fundamentally flawed.
So if logic falls short and connection feels like a trap, where do you even begin? What's the path forward? Let's talk about the journey of recovery, which is all about the process of, bit by bit, reclaiming your own self.
Healing from this isn't just about talking things out. It's about reconnecting with the very part of you that had to shut down to survive. Your body.
It means learning, slowly, to actually befriend your physical sensations again. It means giving yourself permission to know what you know, without shame. And crucially, it often means finding a trusted guide who can help you navigate that really scary internal world.
And that's really the end goal here. It's not about trying to forget what happened. It's not about erasing the past. See, trauma robs you of the feeling that you're in charge of yourself. Recovery is the process of getting back into the driver's seat of your own body and mind, so that the past is no longer constantly hijacking your present.
So all of this leaves us with a really important question to think about. If this kind of trauma can make us feel like a stranger in our own skin, what is the very first, maybe even the smallest, step that anyone can take to start feeling at home in their own body again?
Thank you so much for joining us for this MediBytes Explainer. If you found it helpful for understanding the deep impact of abuse and neglect, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to see it. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into health and the human mind. We'll see you next time.